To sound more fluent and advanced, you need a wide range of vocabulary when you're in a job interview, giving a presentation, or taking your IELTS. You don't want to use the same basic words again and again. Today, you'll learn 123 advanced words you can add to your vocabulary. Welcome back to JForrest English. Of course, I'm Jennifer. Now let's get started. I'm sure every day you say, I need help. Let me share some other ways that I say this and you can too. You can say, could you walk me through, and then whatever you're struggling with. For example, how to export this document. So notice here, the expression is to walk someone. Could you walk me through something? How to export this document. Now, to walk someone through something means to explain in detail, to show step by step.
Could you walk me through it?
You could also say, any chance you know how to export this document. So here, notice I'm saying any chance. That is in spoken English. The full grammatical structure is there any chance? But in spoken English, we generally drop the is there and just say any chance. Any chance you know how to do something. Or you can say, would you mind? Notice you need the gerund. Would you mind showing me how to export this document? Let's try this right now. Would you mind commenting, let's go, let's go, let's go in the comments, because it would really help me. And this is another way of saying, I need help. Would you mind? Would you mind commenting? Let's go in the comments. I love this one. Do you have a sec? A sec is short for second, so a short period of time. Do you have a sec to help me out? So notice I'm using to help me out. And then if you want to specify the something, you can say with this document. So let's try this one too. Do you have a sec to help me out by liking this video? It will only take a second, so like this video. And don't worry about taking notes because I summarize everything in a free lesson PDF. You can find the link in the description. I'm sure every day you say, I don't understand. You can say, I don't get. I don't get, and then how to export this document if you want to use that. Get means understand in this context. This is a great one. I'm having trouble. This is in the present continuous because it's taking place now. This is a gerund expression. I'm having trouble exporting the document. You can also use the preposition with. I'm having trouble with, and then something, a noun. I'm having trouble with the document.
I'm still having trouble with English.
How about this one? I'm not entirely clear on how to export this document. So notice, entirely intensifies it. I'm not entirely clear on how to export this document. Or you can simply say, I'm struggling. Again, in the present continuous, it's happening now. I'm struggling, infinitive. I'm struggling to understand this, whatever that is. Every day you probably say, I need more time. You can also say, I'm not going to make the deadline. Native speakers love using make as a replacement to achieve or obtain. In this case, achieve the deadline. I'm not going to make the deadline. You could say, we need to push back, which means postpone the deadline. So you can use the phrasal verb push back, or you can use the verb postpone. You can say, I'm running behind. Now you run behind on something. I'm running behind on the project. Again, the present continuous is taking place now. How about this one? We need to buy some time with the client. Do you know what this means? Buy some time. This is like saying we need to stall or delay the client so we can create more time. That's buying more time. You create the time.
I just needed to buy some time.
I'm sure every day you say, I'm really busy. You can say that. You can also say, I'm swamped. Notice that pronunciation, that ED is a soft T. I'm swamped. And you need the verb to be. It's to be swamped. I am swamped right now. I was swamped yesterday. Now you can continue on and say with the project or because of. If you use because, you also need that preposition of. I'm swamped because of the project. You can say the project is taking up all my time. So here, the phrasal verb to take up means to consume, use, or occupy, and notice it's in the present continuous because it's taking place now. I love this one. My schedule or my calendar is jam-packed this week. Natives love saying this, jam-packed. And notice that packed, a soft T at the end, packed. Now the jam is optional. You can simply say packed, which means very busy. Adding jam makes it sound more natural and also intensifies it.
Well, our schedule is pretty packed.
You can say things are really hectic right now. So simply using hectic instead of busy to give you a more advanced alternative. Repeat after me, hectic. Hectic. And you can modify that by saying really hectic right now. Are you enjoying this lesson? If you are, then I want to tell you about the Finally Fluent Academy. This is my premium training program where we study native English speakers from TV, movies, YouTube, and the news so you can improve your listening skills of fast English, expand your vocabulary with natural expressions, and learn advanced grammar easily. Plus, you'll have me as your personal coach. You can look in the description for the link to learn more, or you can go to my website and click on Finally Fluent Academy. Now let's continue with our lesson. I'm sure every day you say, what's your opinion? You can say, what's your take on this? Now, if the topic is obvious, you can just say, oh, I think AI is a really positive development. What's your take? Or you can simply add, what's your take on this being the topic of AI.
What is your take on this?
To sound a little more advanced and professional, you can say, what's your perspective? What's your view, point of view, or viewpoint? So many different alternatives. And again, you can say on this or not. It's optional. You could say more casually, how do you see this? I see this as being a positive thing, but what about you? How do you see this? Now, to answer, just remember those preposition differences because you would say, in my opinion, or you would say, from my perspective, from my viewpoint. So get those prepositions right. Now, every day you might say, especially if you're a parent, that's not a good idea. You can say, I'm not sure about that. This is a more indirect, it adds some doubt around it. And you can also say, I'm not too sure about that to make it sound less severe, more indirect. In a more professional setting, you can say, I have some concerns about something, about the conference, or you could say, I have some reservations, or I have some doubts about the conference. You can ask someone, have you thought about? Have you thought about? This is a gerund expression. Have you thought about canceling the conference? I have some reservations about the attendance. Or you can say, before we move forward, which means before we take action, before we move forward, we need to consider, and then something. We need to consider the cost. Hopefully every day you're presented with great ideas and you can say, that's a great idea. Instead, you can say, I can get behind that idea. Now, to get behind something means that you support it. This is a very natural expression. You can say to someone, you're really on to something. If someone is on to something, it means they're moving in the right direction. They're making progress.
I really think you're onto something here.
Or you can say, that's spot on, that's spot on. Simply, you can say 100%. Now notice native speakers pronounce this as 100. Not 100%, it's unstressed, 100%. Native speakers love simply replying with 100%. This is the same as that's spot on, 100%. This means that's completely correct, accurate, or I completely agree. You work every day and there are meetings taking place every day. So you might say or hear, let's meet to discuss this. Instead, you can ask, are you free to go over this? So to go over something means to review it. And when you review something, you generally discuss it as well. Now, you could also say, when are you free? When are you free? So you're asking for a specific date. You can ask, can we touch base on this soon? So if you touch base on something, it means you discuss it. You connect with someone to discuss something specific. You can be very specific and say, does Monday at 11 a.m. work for you? Now you can include the topic and say work for you to discuss this if you want, but that's optional. Or you can simply say, let's set aside some time. If you set aside time, it means you allocate it, you reserve it. Let's set aside some time to iron out the details. To iron out is a great phrasal verb. It means to finalize or to resolve if things are in a state of uncertainty or conflict even.
Yeah, just ironing out the last details.
Now I'm sure you say, let's start every day. Let's start the project. Let's start making dinner, whatever it is. Instead, you can say, let's get the ball rolling. So to get the ball rolling is an idiom that means to start. This is another common idiom, let's hit the ground running. Now, if you hit the ground running, it means you start, but you start with a lot of enthusiasm and energy, so it's a very positive idiom. Or you can simply say, let's do it, let's do it. So someone might ask you, should we start dinner now? And instead of saying, let's start, you can say, let's do it.
Let's do it, E. Let's do it.
Or you can say, let's get going, let's get moving, let's get cracking. So notice you use get for all three of these options, and then the next verb is in the ing form. Or you can use something that will make you sound very natural in a fun, casual way. You can say, it's go time, which means it's time to start. Every day you may need to cancel plans and say, I can't attend the meeting, the conference, the party, the appointment, whatever it is. Instead, you can say, I can't make. Remember that verb make? In this case, it means attend. I can't make the meeting. Or natives love saying, oh, I can't make it. It representing the meeting or the party or the appointment. You can say, sorry, I have a scheduling conflict. So this means you have another appointment or meeting at the exact same time.
It was an unavoidable scheduling conflict.
Or you can say, sorry, I'm already booked, which again means you have another meeting at the exact same time. You can say, unfortunately, I have another commitment. That is a more formal and professional way of saying, sorry, I can't make it. Or you can simply state, I'm not free, I'm not available at that time. And you can be specific about the time as well. Instead of saying they work well together, you can say they have a strong rapport. Notice that T is silent. They have a strong rapport or strong relationship. You can say they're close-knit. Notice the K is silent. Close-knit. And you need the verb to be. They're close-knit. Or you can use close-knit as an adjective and say they're a team, a close-knit team. You could use a different noun. You could say they're a close-knit family, they're a close-knit group of friends, for example.
These are close-knit communities.
Or you can say they have a positive working relationship, they have a supportive working relationship. You can also say they complement each other. If two things complement each other, it means they go well together, like cookies and a glass of milk. They complement each other. So two people can go well together, they complement each other. So let's talk about greetings and small talk. You need to start using how's it going. This is the greeting in North America. How's it going?
How's it going?
How's it going?
But make sure you get that pronunciation. How's it? Zit. How's it? How's it going? Repeat after me. How's it going? You can also say long time no see. Long time no see. For example, Jennifer, long time no see. I was on vacation, so I couldn't watch your lessons. So you can provide the reason why it's been long time no see.
Long time no see.
So I hope you're not saying that, because I hope you're watching my lessons every week. If you are, put that's right, put that's right in the comments. How about this one? What have you been up to? Now you can also say lately or recently, but they're optional.
What have you been up to?
Now, up to means doing. What have you been doing? So this is in the present perfect continuous. This is how you greet someone. How's it going? Long time no see. What have you been up to? You can use all three at the same time. Now, you can also say nice to see you again. Instead of nice, you can say great, lovely, wonderful, or simply good. Good to see you again. Now, notice I didn't use the subject or verb. It is. In spoken English, it's. It's nice to see you again. You can just drop that in casual spoken English.
Nice to see you again.
Or you can ask someone, how's your day been so far?
How's your day been so far?
Now, this is the same as how's your day been going so far. We just don't include the verb because it's obvious. Now let's talk about asking about preferences and opinions. Number 6, how does that sound to you? You need to know this one. So for example, how does going on vacation sound to you? So instead of that, you can specify the something and it's a gerund. Or you can use a noun. How does a vacation sound to you?
How does that sound?
You can ask someone, are you more of a coffee person or a tea person? Now here the structure is, are you more of a noun or noun? Morning person or night person? Stay in person or go out person? Now you don't have to use the word person. A noun could be, are you more of a spender, someone who spends money, or a saver, someone who saves money? How about this? Would you rather? Would you rather? And then you need a base verb. Would you rather stay in or go out? So would you rather base verb or base verb?
Would you rather fly or would you rather drive?
You can say, would you rather have sushi or pizza? Watch a movie or go dancing? Number 9, how do you feel about that? This is a great one to have. How do you feel about that?
How do you feel about that?
How do you feel about that?
Or number 10, what do you think about that? Now for both 9 and 10, you would use a gerund or a noun. For example, how do you feel about going dancing tonight? Or what do you think about a walk? So a walk is the noun. What do you think about a walk tonight?
What do you think about that?
Now let's talk about expressing preferences and opinions. Number 11, honestly, I think it's great.
Honestly, I think you look great.
So you could say, I think going, the gerund verb, going on vacation is a great idea, but you can just use great to represent a great idea. Or number 12, to be honest. To be honest. I'm not a big fan of it. So you can use honestly or to be honest interchangeably. And notice, to be a fan of, after you would use a noun or gerund.
To be honest, I'm not a big fan.
Number 13, I use this one every day, is totally your call. If something is your call, it's your decision, so you decide.
Totally your call.
Or number 14, I'd go with this one. So I would go with, and then in spoken English, I'd go with This means I would support or I would choose, and then you can specify the noun.
Let's go with this one.
Number 15, I get where you're coming from. Or I totally get where you're coming from if you want to make it stronger. And this means I understand your opinion or perspective.
I get where you're coming from.
Now let's talk about apologizing. Number 16, sorry about that. Sorry about that. So notice I dropped the I am and simply said sorry about. And then if you use a verb, you would use the gerund verb. Sorry about spilling coffee on your white rug.
Sorry about that.
You can simply say, my bad, my bad. This is a more informal way.
My bad, my bad.
You can say, I didn't mean to. And then if you want, you can continue, I didn't mean to spill coffee.
I didn't mean to.
Or number 19, simply a sound, whoops, whoops. That's the sound we make when we do something like spill. Whoops, sorry.
Oops, sorry.
Or number 20, I love this one, I'll make it up to you. Do you know what this means? I'll make it up to you. This means I'll rectify, so correct, or I'll compensate for this mistake. For example, sorry about spilling coffee on your white rug. I'll make it up to you. So how could I do that? Well, I'll clean it myself, I'll clean your rug, or I'll pay for it to be cleaned. I'll compensate you. I'll make it up to you.
I'll make it up to you.
I'll make it up to you.
I'll make it up to you.
Now let's talk about saying thank you. Number 21, thanks a bunch, a bunch. This is a casual and friendly way to say thank you or thank you so much.
Thanks a bunch.
Number 22, I really appreciate it. So notice here, you don't use the words thank you, it's implied.
I really appreciate it.
I really appreciate it.
Number 23, you're the best, thanks. Or you can just say, you're the best. This is one of my personal favorites.
Thank you. You're the BEST best.
Number 24, I can't thank you enough. This sounds like a strong thank you.
I can't thank you enough.
It's like saying thank you very much. And my absolute personal favorite is number 25, you rock. You rock. Just do not say you are rock because the sentence structure is to rock. You rock. You rock. Put that in the comments. You rock.
You rock!
Let's move on and talk about reacting to news and surprises. Number 26. Are you serious? Are you serious? You can also simply say seriously or really.
It's seriously? Are you serious?
Number 27, no way, no way. Remember, this is news or surprise, so you need to add some enthusiasm. No way.
No way, no way, no way.
28, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable. This is an alternative to saying, I can't believe it. That's unbelievable.
That's unbelievable.
Number 29, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me.
You've got to be kidding me.
Or number 13, wow, I didn't see that coming. I love this one. Wow, I didn't see that coming. You could also say, no way, I didn't see that coming. Or seriously, I didn't see that coming. And to not see something coming means you were not expecting it. Just know that all of these expressions can be used for positive or negative surprises. It depends on the context. For example, you bought me a new car. That's very positive, right? I just got a new car for free. You bought me a new car. Wow, I didn't see that coming. I didn't expect it. Or how about this? You're breaking up with me? Seriously? You've got to be kidding me. So if you're breaking up with me, it means you're ending our romantic relationship. You've got to be kidding me. So that's a negative. Or how about this? You got fired. I can't believe it. That's terrible. I'm so sorry. Or you got promoted. I can't believe it. That's incredible. Congratulations. So again, it depends on context how you use these.
Wow, I didn't see that coming.
Now let's talk about making social plans. 31, are you free tonight?
So are you free tonight?
Do you want to hang out this weekend?
Do you want to hang out this weekend?
So to hang out, this means to spend time together socially. 33, let's get together this weekend. So the phrasal verb to get together means to come together as a group. Or how about this? How about we grab coffee after work? So here, grab is an informal way of saying get or have, but it is extremely common. Now, you grab a meal, a food item, or a drink item. For example, let's grab lunch today, a meal. Or are you free to grab a bite? A bite represents food. Are you free to grab a bite tonight?
How about we go grab some coffee?
Number 35, we need to catch up.
Wow, we need to catch up.
To catch up, this means to spend time sharing news and information. So I could say, we need to catch up. Are you free tonight? Now let's talk about asking for help. Could you give me a hand with this?
Give me a hand with this, Dallas.
Or you can say, can you lend me a hand? Now, after with, you would use a noun or a gerund. So you can say could or can. Could is slightly more formal. Could or can you lend or give me a hand with something, dinner, or with doing something, with making dinner? Number 38, do you mind? Notice we need the gerund. Do you mind driving me to the airport? You can also say, would you mind doing, gerund, doing me a favor? Notice that collocation, you do someone a favor. Number 40, I could really use your help. This sounds like a serious request.
Hey, could you do me a favor? Would you do me a favor?
Now let's talk about offering help. 41, let me know if you need a hand. A hand means help or any help.
Just let me know if you need a hand.
42, I'd be happy. I'd be happy to help. I'd be happy to lend you a hand. So notice I would means I'd be happy to lend. So the infinitive, to lend you a hand.
I'd be happy to help you.
Or you can say, if you need anything, just ask.
If you need anything, just ask.
I'm here if you need anything. This sounds very inviting. I'm here. I'm here if you need anything, or I'm here if you need me.
If you need anything, I'm here, okay?
Number 45, don't worry, I've got your back.
Don't worry. I got your back.
This sounds the most supportive. Don't worry, I've got your back. This means I'm here to support you, I'm here to help you, and it sounds very strong. I've got your back. Let's talk about saying goodbye. You can say bye and then add on take care, or you can just say take care.
Take care.
You can, of course, say see you later. And again, you can say bye, see you later, take care. You can combine those together. And instead of later, you can be specific. See you soon, see you tomorrow, or even at a specific event or place. See you at the movies. Take care. See you later. See you later. Number 48, have a good one. This is a very casual expression. I hear it a lot with service providers when you're at the grocery store and you leave, they say, have a good one. Have a good one. Now, instead of one, you can say day, night, evening, or afternoon. One is generic. It represents all time references.
Have a good one.
Or 49, talk to you soon, talk to you soon. And then again, instead of soon, you can say later, tomorrow, at the movies, whatever specific time or place.
Talk to you soon.
And number 50, drive safe. Drive safe. Now this only works if the person is driving. if they are the one behind the steering wheel. If that isn't the case, you would change it to safe travels. So notice drive safe, but if you change it, you say safe travels. And safe travels you can use if the person is driving as well.
Drive safe.
Amazing job learning all those phrases. Now let's move on and you'll learn 23 confusing but very important phrasal verbs. First, let's talk about to call someone out. This means to confront or criticize someone, often publicly, for their actions or behaviors. She called him out for not keeping his promises. This means that in public, she said, you didn't keep your promise, and that was a bad thing. She called him out. Now, my students, maybe even you, always call me out when I make a typo. They publicly say, Jennifer, you spelled that wrong. Jennifer, this isn't correct. But that's okay. I don't mind.
Bert's calling me out?
No, apparently.
Called him out loudly.
It's interesting to hear them call us out on that.
Now let's compare this to call out to someone. This means to shout or raise your voice to get someone's attention. Hey, hey John, hey Mary. He called out to his friend across the street. He did this to get her or his attention. So now let's compare these. He called out his friend. This is grammatically correct. It means to publicly criticize. He called out to his friend. This is grammatically correct. It means he shouted to get his friend's attention. Hey, John. Now let's talk about jump in. When you jump in, it means you enter a conversation or a situation. So I could say to you, if we were in a class or a meeting, a live lesson, feel free to jump in with any ideas. I'm inviting you to stop me in the middle of my presentation to share your ideas. Or maybe managers are talking and say, it's nice to see Sarah jumping in at meetings. They're saying it's nice to see Sarah participating, sharing her ideas more actively, maybe because she feels confident speaking in English.
I'm gonna jump in, so I want to make sure I get this one in and lighten it up just a minute.
Please feel free to jump in at any point.
Now, just like my examples show, this is generally used in a positive way. And that's important because let's compare that to butt in. Butt in. This means to interrupt or intrude into a conversation in a negative way. He kept butting in while I was presenting. He kept stopping me to say something, and I found this very rude.
Just butting in here for some side facts.
Or you could say, you should just butt out. Butt out. It's none of your business. So notice here, I changed butt in to butt out. This means you should stop intruding in something that doesn't concern you.
Butt out, Klaus.
So let's review. Jump or butt into a conversation, discussion, meeting, or situation. Notice you need into as one word if you specify the noun, a conversation. And butt out of a conversation, discussion, meeting, or situation. So remember the meaning and that structure. Next, let's talk about to come up with. This means to think of or create something, such as an idea, plan, or solution. They came up with a new marketing strategy. They thought of, they created.
Because Louis Pasteur came up with his technique for sterilizing milk in 1865.
I spend time every day coming up with new lessons for you. I think about ideas, I write them down, I brainstorm for you.
What'd you come up with?
So now let's change the preposition and talk about to come out with. This means to introduce or release something new, usually a product or service. The way we communicate changed when Apple came out with the iPhone.
If we were sitting down having this interview the day that Apple came out with the iPhone, you'd be asking me, really? They're going to compete with Motorola?
Electric typewriters then came out with self-contained correction ribbons so that you could make corrections right there on the machine as you typed.
Let's compare these together. Engineers at Apple came up with the idea of a smartphone in 2005. I don't know if that date is accurate. This means they thought of the idea. What if we had a phone? Now, Apple came out with the iPhone in 2007. That date is correct. This means they released the idea to the public as a product, the product being the iPhone. You could buy the iPhone. Let's review to back out of something. This means to decide not to do something you had previously agreed to. She backed out of the deal at the last minute.
Why are you backing out?
Or you said you were going to finish the English course. Don't back out now.
Don't even think about backing out, man.
Let's compare this to back something up. This means to make a copy of data to prevent loss, something you should do. For years, my husband told me I should back up my computer, but I didn't listen.
Didn't you back it up in your computer?
But now that I use Google Docs, my files are automatically backed up. A copy of my files are saved in a secure location. So always back up your computer and don't back out of things you said you were going to do.
Where do you back up your data?
To catch on to something. This is when you begin to understand or realize something. It took him a while, but he finally caught on to the joke. Now, you don't have to include the something if context is obvious. You could say, it took him a while, but he finally caught on, if you're talking about a joke and the context is obvious.
But she caught on pretty fast.
But either way, people caught on to coffee's advantages and began making tea from its leaves.
So let's talk about catch up to someone. This means to reach the same level or pace as someone else. She's driving too fast. We'll never catch up. You can say we'll never catch up or catch up to her. If you specify the someone, you need the preposition to.
Hurry! They're catching up!
Now let's look at this sentence. I need to catch up on my work so I can catch up to my coworker. When you catch up on something, it means you do the tasks that you missed or were not previously completed.
With students able to catch up on work over a coffee in the new cafe.
Let's talk about to get across. This means to successfully communicate or convey an idea to others. He tried to get his point across, to get something across, his point across in the meeting.
That'll get our point across, right?
Or, I'm not sure what you're trying to get across. Ooh, maybe you need to say it a different way.
Anyways, the point that I'm trying to get across is that social media has made everything just that much more accessible.
Number 12, I love this one, to cheer on. This is when you encourage or support someone, often vocally. Let's go, woohoo, you can do it. The fans cheered on their team. And I could say to you, if you leave a comment, that is your way of supporting me vocally. So I could say, thank you for cheering me on. I couldn't have done it without your support.
Who cheered us on and picked us up when we stumbled.
Someone will be there to cheer us on and pick us up if we fall.
Let's compare this to cheer up. This means to help someone feel happier or to become happier oneself. I brought him a coffee to cheer him up.
Cheer up.
They try with considerable vigor to cheer us up.
Or let's combine these. The fact that you came to cheer me on, let's go Jennifer, that really cheered me up, made me happier. Number 14, carry on. Most students know this. This means to continue with an activity or task despite challenges. She decided to carry on with her studies despite the difficulties.
Carry on.
Let's compare this to carry out. This means to complete or perform an action plan or task. They carried out the experiment successfully.
And we carried it out as a family.
Let's combine these. Let's carry on with the experiments. Notice you need with when you specify the something. Let's carry on with the experiments. Have you carried out? Have you conducted the first test? So remember, you carry on with something and you carry something out. Number 16, to look into something. This means to investigate or examine something in detail. The company is looking into the issue.
I'll look into it.
Let's compare this to look over something. This means to review or examine something briefly or casually. She looked over the document before signing.
Look over this contract.
Let's combine these together. I looked into, I investigated, I looked into the company, and I didn't find any red flags. Red flags are potential risks or problems. I didn't find any red flags. I still need to look over, review the contract. Let's review to check in with someone. This means to communicate with someone to see how they're doing or if they need assistance. He checked in with his supervisor before leaving for the day. So how could he do this? Well, he would go up to his supervisor and say, "Do you need anything before I leave?"
Thanks for checking in, though.
Now let's compare this to check up on someone. This is when you monitor or observe someone's progress, condition, or behavior to ensure all is well. My dad had an accident, so I check up on him. I observe him and monitor him every day.
Would it kill him to check up on us?
Sometimes to check up on someone is seen as a negative because it suggests that you don't trust someone's abilities. So you often hear people complain and say, "Oh, my boss checks up on me every 5 minutes," suggesting your boss doesn't trust your abilities and needs to monitor you closely.
Are you checking up on me?
Number 20, hang out. You should know this one. This means to spend time with someone socially in a casual way. We hung out at home all weekend. Or it's very common to say to people, "Let's hang out soon. Let's spend time socially soon."
Cool, let's hang out tonight.
Don't confuse this with to hang up, which means to end a phone call. She hung up before they decided where to hang out.
Don't hang up, don't hang up, don't hang up, don't hang up.
22, to break up with someone. Do you know what this means? This means to end a romantic relationship. He broke up with his girlfriend last month.
Are you breaking up with me?
Now, you could also say we broke up. So in this case, because the subject is doing the action, you don't have to say with someone. We broke up. I broke up with him. He broke up with me. We broke up.
We broke up.
Don't confuse this with to break something up. This means to separate something into smaller parts. The teacher broke up the assignment into 3 parts.
From this point, we're going to take the life of the project and break it up into 4 phases so that we can discuss the processes that are appropriate to each.
So if you say, "I broke her up," that sounds weird. That sounds like you divided her into smaller parts. But if you say, "I broke up with her," that sounds sad. You ended your romantic relationship with her. Phrasal verbs can be so confusing. Do you want me to make another lesson just like this? If you do, put put more in the comments below. And of course, make sure you like this lesson, share it with your friends, and subscribe so you're notified every time I post a new lesson. And you can get this free speaking guide where I share 6 tips on how to speak English fluently and confidently. You can click here to download it or look for the link in the description. And you can keep learning phrasal verbs with this lesson right now.